Good afternoon YouTube and welcome to the VoxOffice where we watch way too many films. No, I'm just kidding, you can never watch too many films.
They're screwing with the wrong people.
So guys, before we get started on this review, I just want to let you know that there is going to be a lot of spoilers in these reviews. I apologise for that in advance. If you aren't a fan of spoilers, then I suggest you check out another video or go watch the episode and come back. Sorry. So guys, Walking Dead Season 5 premiere. Over 17.8 million people watched this premiere. It's the highest rating they've ever achieved, which is phenomenal. I think it actually beat the Game of Thrones premiere. I'm not entirely sure, but even so, 17.8 million people watching a TV show at one time. Pretty awesome. So, moving on, why was it amazing in the first place? Well, it was pretty amazing simply because it was completely different to the rest of The Walking Dead in total. It had a fantastic premiere, even better than I think the first episode of Season 1, which was tough to beat by far, but they definitely managed it in this episode. It brought back all the characters quickly and believably, which was quite nice. It carries on straight from the Season 4 premiere, sorry, the Season 4 finale, so that was good. I liked that there wasn't a jump and there was no sort of, oh, how did they get here? A little bit of confusion. It wasn't, it was perfect. Honestly, I can't find a fault with this show, this particular episode anyway. Moving on, what happens in this show? Well, I'm just going to give you a quick synopsis of what really went down. So you start off, you have Rick and the gang all stuck in the carriage. They make weapons out of the things they can, you know, the metal off the carriage, stuff like that. You also see Carol and Tyrese, who are making their way towards Terminus, and they didn't arrive in time to meet Rick, which is pretty good for them because obviously they'd be in the carriage with them. And if the show starts off with Rick and the gang making the weapons, and they stand inside the carriage, they know they're about to be dragged away, so they get ready to fight, and then of course they're flashbanged instead and they get dragged out, and yeah. And it turns out that I had a theory about this and I was right, that the Terminus people were actually the cannibals from the comics. Although it's not the same setting or storyline, it's very similar in how they did it. So you find out they're cannibals. They take Rick and, well, they only take the men, which I found quite interesting. They only take the men to the slaughter bit, and they don't talk themselves out or anything. It actually turns out that Carol, who I loved in this episode simply because she's really redeeming herself for what her actions here. She blows up a tanker using a firework, killing a lot of zombies and also opening up the defences, which leads a horde of zombies straight into Terminus. Gotta love it. Carol, thanks for redeeming yourself finally, because you've gone a little bit crazy in Series 4. Not a lot of people liked you for a while, but you're definitely back in my good books. Afterwards, Carol helps to rescue the whole gang. Rick and Daryl and Glenn, you know, they fight some zombies, they kill a lot of the Terminus people before saving the rest of the carriage people, but they were literally on the brink of death before Carol blew up that tanker and distracted the rest of the guys. So thanks for that. Also, I loved how Tyrese, his character, because Tyrese hasn't really been a character that's been explored so much. His personality was never developed in the show. We always knew he was quite a big brute, but he was quite a soft-hearted guy. He fought for what he needed rather than fought for what he wanted, it's fair to say. After the mid-season finale, Sasha and Tyrese were split up, and as you know, they're brother and sister, which caused a little bit of trouble for Sasha, caused a lot more for Tyrese. And basically this meant that Tyrese couldn't really keep it in him to carry on in the way he used to. You know, if he saw a zombie, kill it straight up, no problem. If he saw one now, not so much. But when Judith was threatened, baby Judith, he sort of came back to his sensibility. He killed 3 zombies with his bare hands, and then killed the guy who was threatening Judith, which was awesome to see as well, because it was just him pounding on this guy with a little bit less goriness than when Rick bit that dude's neck out. But you know, that was awesome to see in that episode, and you know, Tyrese isn't obviously he's not Judith's father. He does love her in this, in that sort of I need to look out for a way, but not enough that he's going to bite dude's neck out. If Rick was there, I think it would have been a lot worse. However, what was great about this episode as well was when, after everything went over, you see Rick and Carl reunited with Judith for the first time in over half a season, which was lovely to see because I think they've brought in a new young actress for Judith. It was also lovely to see Sasha and Tyrese come back together, and Carol and Daryl. This was a lovely scene to see. When Daryl saw Carol, he just ran to her and hugged her for like 30 seconds on screen. The episode's like 45 minutes long, and he just hugged onto her for 30 seconds. That's quite a lot of screen time, considering how long the episode was. And then the rest of the guys reuniting with Carol wasn't really seen. It was sort of, it's touched upon, but it wasn't a massive deal. What was great about Carol was when she went into the Terminus sort of like supply room where they took all their captives' possessions and kept them there. She actually picked up Daryl's crossbow and then took it to him, which was quite nice, really, because she didn't pick up Michonne's blade or anything else. She just picked up Daryl's crossbow, which was quite nice because you've always sort of seen a thing between those two, but it's never really gone on in the show, or it hasn't been delved into a lot of detail. So at the end of the episode, we see everyone reunited, and they start talking about what they're going to do. They don't really specify yet. We know that Abraham wants to talk to Rick about going to Washington because Rick hasn't really agreed to this. He's only been in the carriage for, assuming it's been about a day or two maximum since the end of Series 4. But yeah. So what you do see them do, you see the whole gang leaving on a railroad track, and they see the sign that would have said Terminus, Sanctuary of Terminus. Rick takes, I'm not sure what he takes, but he takes something and he just scrubs out the message and writes "No Sanctuary," which was, obviously it's the name of the episode. But what was lovely about that was in the end credit scene, I call this the Marvel scene in The Walking Dead, because it's the end credit scene, and you probably already know this by now, seeing the Facebook post, there's a lot of them, but Morgan from Series 1 and 3 is finally returning, and he seems sane, for now. He wasn't so much in Series 3. He has an awesome Spec Ops mask on that he pulls off to reveal his face in the final bit where he's at the sign saying "No Sanctuary" a little while after Rick has left. But that was quite nice to see because he seems to come back sort of every 2 series, Series 1, Series 3, Series 5. And I think now he's actually going to become part of the group rather than a guest. And I really liked Morgan's character. I liked him in the comics and I like him in the series. If you haven't read the comics, by the way, definitely read it. I wouldn't read past where you are up to in terms of the series, because it will spoil it for you in some ways, and in other ways it will completely shock you. Because they don't always stay complete to the source material. The series likes to delve off in its own way, which they have done with Terminus, they have done with Morgan. It's different, I like it, and I'm assuming you like The Walking Dead, you definitely like the comics. You can get them online if you really don't want to pay for them and stuff, so it's not really a big hassle. Now, what was great about the zombies in this episode is that the zombies are finally becoming more to do with the storyline rather than just an obstacle. Now, I don't mean this in terms that they're becoming part of the narrative as such. I mean they're just becoming more part of the episode. Because before, they would chuck walkers in the scene. Before, they'd chuck walkers in the scene just because it's a zombie genre, and they need zombies in it. They need zombies to fill the scene up. That was a little bit of a letdown for me because I love my zombies and I love to watch a zombie get its head knocked off with a spade. But we didn't see that so much in Series 3, we didn't see so much of it in Series... Well, we saw a bit more in Series 4, but we didn't see as much. So what was good was when they started using them a lot more. They actually used a herd in the premiere, which hasn't been seen in quite a while, really. And as such, it created a big obstacle for Rick and the gang to get out, because not only did they have to get out of Terminus and away from the Terminus people, they had to get away from the walkers. And they didn't have any weapons, all they had was pipes, a bit of metal, stuff like that. And the gore is increasing, which I love, because obviously, like I've said, I love zombies, I love zombie deaths. So when Daryl kicks a zombie up against a wall, kills another one by stabbing it through the head, pulls it out, then turns round to the other zombie like, "No, I'm not finished with you," hits him so hard in the side of the face that it gets crushed right I'm going to find the clip, yeah. Here's the clip. So that for me is a personal, yeah, you're doing well, guys. Whoever's writing this, whoever's directing this, whoever's ever editing this, keep doing this stuff. Because this is the stuff for me that's going to keep me watching. Not just the storyline, not just the characters, but the gore, the action. It's got to be there. You have to draw in the audience. Series 3 didn't do it so well. It kept too much to the drama. You have to do both. You have to keep it on equal terms. You have to do both. But hey, that's just my issue. So moving on next week, you don't know much about the storyline, but you know that there is the priest, and the priest was a character from the comic books. He actually runs alongside the cannibal storyline. So since they are going to meet up with Terminus people, that's probably why they've kept him in the series. How he works is he was a priest before the walkers began walking, and he's a little bit off the rails because when the apocalypse started, he didn't let anyone to his church. People came, obviously it's America, there's a lot of Christians, there's a lot of religious people out there, and the first place that a lot of religious people will run in case of an apocalyptic event will be to their church or to their mosque or whatever. But he did probably the most unholiest thing you could do as a father who had taken a lot of oaths and a lot of training and everything else. He closed the doors on his church, and he heard the people outside screaming and being eaten alive, and kept so quiet that eventually all their dead bodies then turned into walkers and left, and he was left alone with a lot of supplies, and just a lot of shame, really. And he's a little bit off the rails from it, and when Rick finds him, I'm pretty sure he ends up joining the group for a while, and then they suspect him of murder because people start going missing, and I can't quite remember because I know it ran alongside the cannibal storyline, and it was actually the cannibals that were doing it. But in the comics at this point, Herschel's still alive, so anything's possible, really. I'm going to give this episode 4.5 stars out of 5. The way this rating system works, we rate it on the series, not on television as a whole. So if I say this episode's got 4.5 stars and then a Game of Thrones episode gets 2, that will be because compared to other Game of Thrones episodes, it only gets 2 stars. Whereas this one will be compared to other Walking Dead episodes, it gets 4.5. I don't think you'll ever see me put 5 stars on an episode because you can't have a perfect episode. There's always going to be a problem with an episode. So that is it for this episode of the Vox Office. I hope you enjoyed this review of The Walking Dead Season 5 premiere. I'm sorry that this has been my first review, so I've been a little bit nervous, but I hope you still enjoyed and you come back for more. I will get better, I promise you. Until next time, please remember to like, subscribe and comment below your favourite Walking Dead episode and why, and we will comment on as many as we can as well. Until then, you can also follow us on Twitter at Vox_Office. There will be a link below in the description. And that's pretty much it from us. I would like to tell you we are filming our first short film this weekend, and we hope to have it up by next weekend, so keep your eye out for that, because that'll be heading your way soon. We also have a few other projects in the works, so if you like the first one, you're probably bound to like the rest of them. Until then, I've been Connor from the Vox Office. You keep watching films and TV. Until next time, goodbye. I quite like that, actually.